Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for today's video. I wanted to talk about the narcissist, their cognitive dissonance, and more on the mask and neuro-linguistic programming. So let's jump in. So, having to do with the narcissist, when they meet you, they start to form these patterns in you. Now, these are the same patterns that took them down when they were a child, and they fell into these traps. So when they come to you, they are coming to you, and what's inside them, the negative energy inside them, is now trying to branch out and do the same thing to you. Now, the negative energy knows that you're not susceptible maybe enough. Now, it's possible, but not susceptible enough to be corrupted to the degree that they are. But the negative energy does know that it can hold you down and keep you down from doing any good in your life and doing any good and bearing any light in this world system if they could hold you down. And it needs to feed. And it feeds off the lust of this world through humanity. It has to parasite off of humanity. And with that parasitic nature, once they get in a low vibrational child or individual because of rights or opening doors and agreements and consents, once they get in full control of that individual, which is now the narcissist that comes to you, you may have felt like you met them randomly, and maybe the original meet, that may have been the case, but once they are introduced to you, you are then targeted. And so they build a plan, or they have a plan to corrupt you, to destroy you. And they use all of these different manipulations, but a big one is first for you to consent to the agreement, to go into covenant, consent, or contract with them, because that's what it takes in this world system. It can be mentally, it could be verbally, it could be just where you spend your fuel, and the time that you spend mingling with an individual are consents and agreements and contracts. And because of that, especially in the case of the narcissist, we're talking about the love partner or ex-love partner situation, there's rules to this world system, what people would call universal rules, or what I call the rules that God put into the foundation of this world system. You cannot go against them and not have repercussions. And where this is a generational curse is we were brought up and groomed a certain way to attract these individuals and to be attracted to them. And we are unaware for a time, until the time comes to where you have enough truth in you and enough pain that's hurt you enough that you have to bear, and you've said enough. And you start to investigate this for yourself, because there's a lot of toxic enablers that are empaths that just don't have the will, or may not have gained the will because they have been with a lower end narcissist that wasn't giving them the abuse that it may have taken to wake them up. So in the case of all of us that have woke to this, we were too abused to an extent that is beyond humanity, beyond humanity's level of abuse, and we continue to take it. Just as you can prop up evil for a time as you fill them with your fuel, but then you will disintegrate, and you can't do it for long, because if evil doesn't want to repent, for instance, and you're fueling the narcissist, it's going to end. You're going to run out of fuel. And I believe for the ones that do wake up, to all of this versus the empaths that don't. It's because it was in our destiny, because we had that level of truth in us, and we are seekers of truth seekers. We also have will, and you're born with that. That is innate in you. When you were born here, I believe it's most definitely birthed in the spiritual realm before you ever come here. That's all determined. And that's even spoken in the word, such as Jeremiah and others. So they use these manipulations, but first they come in through contract, consent, or covenant, which is agreements. When you agree to things, you are bonded to that individual, those individuals. In fact, just mingling, having even friendships with them is covenants. It's a lower level covenant. So the reaping, the negative reaping would be less. But depending on the level of fuel that you pour into someone, or you enmesh yourself with somebody else's fuel that's in narcissist, is to the level of the reaping and sowing that you will receive, because they are taking away from you always. So if they're taking away most all of your fuel and leaving you empty, so empty you don't even know who you are when they leave, then you are being destroyed. And in, for instance, a friendship, you may see them periodically, but still, when you mingle with people, and it's your will to, it's on your free time, not necessarily work individuals or people that you have to work around. Things you have to do, you have grace for, but things you choose to do. The only thing that can get you in trouble is the options. When you choose which options you want, you don't have to date that individual. You don't have to be friends with that individual, but you chose to, even if it was unbeknownst to you, because if you had enough truth in you at the time of the meet, you would have turned it away. But this is on another level now, so don't feel, I did the same thing, but don't feel like shame for that, because it's on a spiritual level, to such a level, and you were targeted, manipulated, used, and abused, and it was insidious. It was slow eating, tearing away, and manipulative to a spiritual degree, to a point that's malignant. And also our amount of love that we pour into people. We have the ability to love and not want back freely, to give and to give, and to do for others, not asking for anything back. I think a lot of what the Lord was talking about in the Word, when he talked to the Pharisees and said they didn't need him because they were too good, but there's people out there that do, and that's what he was there. That's who he was there for. And I think it's a lot of us, y'all. We may be a ragtag type of people, but we're like the dirty dozen, y'all. He wants people like this. And even the modern day church is kind of blind to what's going on in the world today, especially spiritually, and how much fear is pumped into things. I don't even know if the modern day church was ever Christ Church, so just food for thought. But what I wanted to get at was this neuro-linguistic programming, where you have this splitting that takes place and this control of your emotional field they grab a hold of and latch onto, attach onto, and cord up to, so they can drain and siphon all of your soul energy, and then to pour in to you all of their sin soul energy. They need people that are pure, more pure and naive, or unawoke to this, unaware to this when it's happening. They need more innocent type people. I call it virgin fuel, because that's the highest end fuel you can get, is empathic, unaware fuel of a light worker. So that's what we were, because if they try to switch fuel with another narcissist or narcissistic individual or toxic person, or a toxic enabler in a sense, in certain sort of ways, they don't get the reaping of fuel that they do with you. And that's why they do all these bad things to you, because they get such a high off of it, and it empowers them. But at the end of the day, they're doing it all. It's like return fuel to you. It's like they take your fuel and then they destroy you with your own fuel, and they project all of their negative energy onto you for you to work off, for you to almost repent for, because you came into this covenant with somebody who is in a damnation state that can't even repent because they have no empathy and no love. This is, like I said, this is for Romans 1 and 2 Timothy, the reprobate types. That's what we've dealt with. And at some point you learn that it doesn't matter how much love that you pour into them, that you cannot love someone to death. It will kill you. It will return fire with your own fuel against you and destroy you. And that's why a lot of times you end up with such a negative harvest. And sometimes you wonder why. Well, you have to look around at the people in the company you keep. It's the company you keep, y'all. And what they really get you to do is, first, when they come in, they consent you. Then they love bomb you. Love bomb you is to take you out of your spiritual sense, your higher mind, your higher way of thinking, your thought that is able to critically think and determine what's best for you, not what your emotions tell you. They get you into your ego self, which is your false self. We can all put on a false self. And we all have the ability to do some of the things the narcissist does. But when they come into your life, they force these things upon you. And they project their negative energy on you. And they program you. So this is really unfair. That's why it's a generational curse, because somebody opened these doors in your past generations that made you have an opening to this that you need to close. So one way of doing it is building boundaries against it. And don't waver in any relationship with your boundaries. Your boundaries are for everybody. A lot of times you would give these people the benefit of the doubt. That's part of the spell that you broke when you woke and walked away. You don't break the spell or the curse if you stay with them when you wake up. But I don't know many people that do, or anybody that has. Not in the case of what I'm talking about to this level. When you leave, you may have some touch and go with them. That's kind of normal. So don't shame yourself. It's just, it is what it is. I call it coming off the nipple, like a baby because I feel like that you do several cycles with them, and that is the history. Up to 7 times is the average once you leave them because of the trauma bond, but they always become shorter. And I shouldn't even call it the nipple, but it's kind of like this. Once you know it's a demonic attachment and that they are in the state that they are in, and it's trying to reach out and to poison you, it makes this covenant and contract easier to break. It's easier to rationalize that you need to be without them because there's no hope for them. These are permanent possession individuals, corrupted to the level to where they gave up on their true self and sacrificed it for the false self. They do not tell the truth because they cannot. They have the inability because their mind and their heart was seared. And when you see PETs and MRIs, they don't light up on the frontal lobes. And the right side is where you find creativity, common sense, and love. And what is attached to love is the 9 fruits of the Spirit, talking of it in the Word. We are all born with, but we can cultivate them much better as we are more in tune with the Lord. So they gave up those innate 9 fruits of the Spirit, starting with love. They all are tethered together, and they're tethered to the spirit man. Your innate self, your true self is what they're tethered to. And because of that, they cannot reverse this, and they anatomically changed because their frontal lobes are shut down, and that's permanent. So they don't have any hope of deliverance. That's why you can go across the whole earth, and with all the technology that we have today, the cameras, phones, videos, movies, and all the streaming services, you cannot find one that has truly been set free from narcissism, gained their love sectors back, and repented, and talk on the spiritual side of how they were also delivered. You won't find it because it doesn't exist. And like one of the subscribers said, these individuals are all around us, and now we know it. Before, we didn't know. In fact, most of us probably didn't even believe in demon possession or permanent possession. But they run on a covert level. Even if you know an overt narcissist, and you put them together with demon possession before this actually happened to you, and you saw faces and black eyes and all the things you saw, because I saw them too, you would never believe they were possessed. You would just believe they're a pompous jerk. But demons run on a covert level, so even the overt narcissist has demons covertly operating in them as well, because nobody believes it. They believe it's some old-fashioned thing. And in a lot of ways, I believed that it was much more fewer and farther between than it really is. This is a true infection that has become a pandemic. And it's not going to change. It's not going to get better. It's only going to be made worse. So we have to be vigilant in protecting ourselves, because what they do is they consent you, then they pull you down to your ego self by pumping you up with a love bomb. And it also runs over all the red flags that are telling you that this individual is not right for you. They're lying or cheating, and your intuition's getting run over because they're love bombing you. So you're saying to yourself, and you get those words in your mind, that you need to give them the benefit of the doubt. And when they get you in this love bombing, they get you into an emotional state. That's how they get your mind to shut down and your heart to take over. And they start to do hot and cold with you after they detamine you. And then they start to cause this splitting. The splitting is this neuro-linguistic programming that they do, where you see their actions and they don't match up with the words they're telling you. They're telling you what they're saying is the truth, but it's a lie. And what they're telling you doesn't look like what they're doing. And you can feel it in your intuition. If you're sensitive to this emotional field like we are, it will start to wake you up at some point through the trauma. And you may even start to get autoimmune system issues from this, because it's attacking you with your own energy. And you're tamping down or telling your intuition it's not telling you the truth. You're rejecting your intuition and your innate spirit. And because you're locked in your emotional state, that's your flesh. Your emotional state of thinking is your flesh. It's your mind, will, and emotions without your higher intellect or your spirit man in control. So it's not intellectual, it's emotional. And that's what the narcissist hijacks. And that's why they perform the hot and the cold. And you don't know. It's like you love them, you hate them. It's the sweet little child they're acting like, and then the evil demon that you end up seeing next. They're not cheating. Yes, they are cheating. They're not lying. Yes, they are lying. And all of these things cause splitting in you. And that's why there's that scripture that a double-minded man's unstable in all his ways, man or woman. It's speaking about humanity in general. But these individuals cannot do right at all because they don't have it in them. That's why even when they lie about stupid things, because they cannot tell the truth. They don't have the ability to. They lost the tools when they lost love and the 9 fruits of the spirit, their innate self, their true self, and their intuition, their inside voice. That's why they have to run and be with somebody all the time, because they have no inside voice. When they are alone, they're truly alone. And that is scary. And the only time they get talked to in the inside voice is to be told how to take down a target or an empath or a source of supply. They tell them how to operate and how to act, and that's just about it. Or they'll just shame them and tell them how crappy they are. Or they'll pump them up during high ends of fuel that these entities are getting from inside of them and build them up to feel like a god status. That's the only inside voice they have. So for the most part, they cannot talk to themselves without speaking. So they have to be with someone all the time. And just as they try to get you addicted to them through the hot and the cold and the endocrine system and through the cognitive dissonance, they are in an emotional state of thinking all the time, because that's the fleshly thinking. That's the false mask. And the only time they have intellectual thinking is their intellectual thought comes from. And we would have it too if we're even in a relationship like this, but we were studying material and we were taking classes or we were in school. Now, that's outside of relationships, all relationships. It's just having to do with academics. And so this is where they would have, or you would have, your intellectual thinking still, but it's still going to be fogged up because of all the cognitive dissonance. but it doesn't affect them as much, the cognitive dissonance, the hot and the cold, because they've gotten to a point to where they had to sacrifice their true self for the false self. So now they're just cold. This is deep, y'all. It's good. It's just coming to me. They don't have truth in them, so they don't have to fight back and forth with the hot and the cold. We do, because we still have truth, and we can still do bad things, or we can choose to do evil things as well, or to come in covenant with evil. It's just like when we do things to them that are in the fruits of the Spirit, it confuses them. They just don't understand it because they don't have love in them. That's why they cannot apologize. And if they do, it's fake. They cannot love because they can't. That's why they have to fake it. They cannot have peace because there's no peace in them. They can't. Not for the contract that they made. They can't have goodness in them. They cannot have good self-control in them. These are the fruits of the Spirit. They cannot have gentleness because they're cold, y'all. They do not have faithfulness. They're faithful to nobody but that mask. And that mask is the interface that controls them. And it will control you once it attaches to you emotionally and gets you in your lower self, your fleshly self. So basically, outside of academics, they cannot be truthful. They can have logic on that side of things, but when it comes to relationships and partnerships or any kind of things in dealing with individuals, they have to tell a lie. There's nothing good in them. And so people say, well, they choose to lie or they choose to do this. At this point, they don't. At this point, they don't even have the tools anymore. They're stuck in only doing sinful acts. They can't do right. And so it's hard because a lot of people want to get information from the narcissist. They want to ask them they want to get the truth from them. It's like the narcissist will tell them a lie, and then they'll be like, well, thinking maybe next time they're going to tell me the truth, but they're just a complete lie. So for you to go get any kind of advice, confide in them, or get any assistance, help, or their opinion on something is always going to be evil. It's always going to be underhanded. It's always going to be you're in competition with them and they got to destroy you. They got to keep you down and they got to keep you suppressed because that's all they can do now. So it's not something that they choose anymore. This is where they're fixed. They're fixed in a demonic state. That's why even if you took the demonic out of them, they'd still be fixed in a demonic state because of their anatomy. So this is how it works. They can't do good. They cannot feel anything of the fruits of the Spirit. They're basically a human anatomy and biological machine for the enemy's use. So they are like the carbon copy of humanity. They're a hybrid now. And that's what they've become. And there's hundreds of thousands of them out there now, millions. So we have to be careful and keep that in mind, that spiritual warfare at this point is all over the place. So this will be another part to this series because I'm going to continue to dive into it, but I wanted to start here. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up. Love you all till next time. Peace. Soldier up. We out.